Hi there. Real quick before we jump into the episode. If you enjoy this episode, or any of the other episodes, be sure to give us a follow or subscribe. It would also be great if you shared it with a friend, or better yet, left a review so others can know how awesome it is. Thanks so much. And now, the episode.
Hey there, Press Starters, and welcome to the Press Start Leadership Podcast, the podcast about game-changing leadership, teaching you how to get the most out of your product and development team and become the leader you were meant to be. Leadership coaching and training for the international game industry professional. Now, let me introduce you to your host, the man, the myth, the legend, Christopher Mifsud.
Hey there, Press Starters, and welcome back to another special edition of the Press Start Leadership Podcast. On this week's episode, we discuss the truth about culture shock. Culture shock, the dark side of working abroad. Culture shock is defined as the feeling of disorientation experienced by someone who is suddenly subjected to an unfamiliar culture, way of life, or set of attitudes. Over the years, I've lived in quite a few countries outside my home country, the United States. The thrill of working abroad can be incredible. What isn't often talked about is the downside of moving abroad: culture shock. It happens to a lot of people, myself included, and it can be hard to identify, as it often doesn't show up right away. If you haven't made a big move before, you might not know what to look for. So, if you're thinking of accepting that dream job abroad, be aware of the following. 5 common causes of culture shock. Language. You're going to have a much easier time if you move to a country where people speak your language. But if you don't, it's best to have a working knowledge of that country's language before you move. If you're actually somewhat fluent, and I don't mean American fluent, in the language, you can limit your depth of culture shock. Food. New food is exciting and oftentimes delicious, but depending on where you move, your comfort foods may not be available or abundant. Depending on how far away you are from home, they may only have one brand of peanut butter, if they even have peanut butter, and it may not be the one you like. Sorry, I hate to break it to you, but if you had a bad day and you're dying to drown your sorrows in a plate of chicken wings, you may be out of luck. Celebrations and holidays. Holidays and other celebrations are different when you go abroad. Sometimes they're on a different day, sometimes they're celebrated completely differently, and sometimes they're not celebrated at all. There's no 4th of July or Thanksgiving in most places outside the US. And depending where you are, New Year's Eve and Christmas may be different as well. India has Diwali, beautiful festival of lights, but you might still be sad when your friends back home are celebrating your traditions without you. Money. The way money is handled, how much things cost, how much tax you pay is different in every country. Tipping culture is different everywhere too. In some parts of the world, tipping is not expected and can even be considered rude. Do your research and create a budget ahead of time so you aren't surprised by new costs or awkward conversations. Toilet usage and hygiene. Toilets are different everywhere. Some have bidets, some don't have toilet paper, and some are nothing but a hole in the ground. Outside of toilet hygiene, the acceptance of spitting, cleaning one's nose, and the exception about hand washing varies from place to place. If you're not adventurous and open to everything, this can wear on you a lot. In my opinion, moving to a new country is definitely worth it for a number of reasons. But I suggest you try to mitigate the amount of culture shock you experience by researching the 5 points above, or follow the advice of my mentor Osho. They say, think twice before you jump. I say, jump first, and then think as much as you want. Thought twice and still ready to take the plunge? Or have you already moved? Check out my upcoming podcast about how to combat culture shock. That's this week's episode of Press Start Leadership Podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and as always, thanks for being awesome. Give us a follow, a like, a share, and even a review if you feel like it. We'd really appreciate it. Cheers. If you haven't downloaded my free ebook, 5 heroic leadership skills. Click on the link in the description. Tune in next week for your next episode of Press Start Leadership Podcast. Thank you. Oh, hi. And the episode's over, but thanks for sticking around till the end. Be sure to check out more episodes in the playlist and new episodes every week on Monday. Follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. Don't forget to leave a review. Thanks again for being awesome.